It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That means that's Alan Saunders. Alan, how are we doing?
Doing good, man. Doing real good.
You know, I mentioned
it's like Friday. Like,
okay,
practice today
I don't know if I
over.
share that sentiment, but
The Steelers have 4 days off.
Yeah.
Talk to everybody about where they're going, spending their time off. It's like, I'm like, my week is over. Now I still have a shitload of work to do, but my week is over in terms of places I gotta go and people I gotta see.
Starts a new one. Yeah. I can't say that I share the sentiment in terms of a Friday. I wish that I did. But neither here nor there. Shout out to those guys. But I will say, I mentioned yesterday that hopefully today is a much, happier feeling to it, because yesterday we just talked about a bunch of guys getting cut. Well, they bring back a lot of those guys for the practice squad. Obviously, they felt pretty good about the work that they saw from their group that they had in training camp and through the preseason to just say, hey, we want to fill out the practice squad with pretty much all guys that were here. I know that they still have that one practice squad spot open. We'll see what happens with that. But, what does that say about the way that they felt about the group that they had, that they want to fill out the practice squad with all internal guys?
I can't ever remember a Steelers practice squad having this many of the players that they had in training camp on the roster. I talked to some people today who said Steelers were burning up the phones trying to find landing spots for guys that they thought were clearly capable of being on a 53-man NFL roster. Doesn't seem like that was able to come to pass. And so they end up with a bunch of guys they like on the practice squad. I'll be honest, guys, I don't think they all expected to be there. I didn't expect them. I don't think you look at guys like DeMarvin Leal, Beanie Bishop. I think that the
Trey Sermon. I mean, both the backs that we talked about.
Or even a guy like Robert Woods. I mean, he didn't have a great preseason, but you just think is that a practice squad guy? You know what I mean? And I think the fact that they were able to bring that group that they did back on the practice squad is a really good sign. It shows that they had a really good 90. They thought they did. I agree. I mean, there's guys that I'm like, oh, where's so-and-so? But then you look at who's on there and you're like, yeah, well, I guess I kind of get it. That's a really, really solid practice squad.
I'll be honest. One guy that I'm very excited that we didn't mention within that is Tyshawn Williams. I just wanted a year of development for him on the practice squad. I think is going to be very good. But for the amount that he flashed, I'm not somebody that was pounding the table saying he needed to make the 53 or anything like that. But I thought he certainly showed enough to be worthy of a practice squad spot here. And I'm excited about what another year of development could do for him. So maybe at some point he does get elevated. We'll see what type of growth takes place there and the injuries that could take place. I have a feeling we're going to talk a lot more about receiver, but I just want to shout him out as well as somebody that flashed to me throughout the preseason. I'm excited to still have in the fold.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of guys that you can put into that group. Lou Nichols, Max Hurleman, Sebastian Castro. I think, there's a lot of guys that
mentioned how good it would be for JJ Galbraith to spend.
JJ Galbraith. Most of the time, practice squad is just like quad A players in baseball. It's like, who do you call up if somebody gets hurt? Your break glass in case of emergency options. I think this Steelers practice squad group is more than that. When you look at the number of undrafted free agents that are on there, what is that, about 4 that look really good? In addition to your kind of guys who are the 54th and 55th and 56th guys on the roster, right? I think there's some you know what James Pierre is. You got a pretty good idea what DeMarvin Leal is. Robert Woods, certainly. Those guys are depth at this point. But I think there's potential in a lot of those guys as well. Mike Tomlin talked about being excited about them still being here. I think that's a genuine feeling.
I also I'll say impressed. I was looking for maybe a better word to use here, but for a guy that joined as late in the process as he did, clearly jumped quite a few corners in that room to be brought back on the practice squad. Daryl Porter Jr., I think, as well. Also pretty impressive for him to even make the practice squad for this team.
Thought he was really good when he came in. right away, I thought he was better than some of the depth guys who had been around since the beginning. Made it pretty clear that he deserves to be here. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, they're deep at corner, man. Deshaun Jameson making it too. I'm glad to see that. He's an electric athlete. They get some things to work on for sure, but they're real. Like if those Pierre, Bishop, Porter, Jameson is the practice squad, that's
yeah. And Jameson we saw contribute in special
Steelers,
teams.
and what have they done to their cornerback depth?
Yeah, I think you tweeted out. Was it yesterday when Noah Igbenogany was? Yeah. There was some smoke about him getting traded. You were like, "When's the last time that, like, as a Steelers fan, you weren't clamoring for any corner to come in to help them because they feel good about the group?" Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know we've talked about that quite a bit. The secondary in general, honestly, we've talked about quite a bit, just how much of a strength it is. But yeah, I mean, going down the rest of the guys here that we haven't shouted out yet. Stephen Jones was the name that we had mentioned. You had said you thought looked pretty strong there within the backup group. Kyler Baugh, defensive tackle. Welshoff is obviously their international player. I think you mentioned Castro. So yeah, that rounds out the 16 that we have now. I mean, is there a reason that they didn't just completely fill it out with 17? Is that like maybe the one external addition and it's just like, I don't know.
Waiting to see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. The one guy that I would have thought that they would have liked to get on there that they didn't is two actually, like Echo Leota, I think would be interesting, and Mark Robinson, I think would be. I'm a little curious about him. So those would be the two guys that I think are worthy of a spot that didn't go. And I'm assuming that Max Sharping, it was reported, is going back to the 53, which I don't really understand. I feel like they got what they need there with Andrews Pete and Spencer Anderson. So I'm a little curious about that. But Mark Cavalli reported that. Chuck Clark, I do expect to get to the 53 here directly.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I was going to go next. Is we talked about how maybe there was some paper moves within there with Howard and Kent originally making the 53-man roster, and if we could see Clark and Pierre brought back. Pierre was brought back onto the practice squad. Clark, we're still waiting in terms of that 53 spot. But yeah, so clearly, that's why it was so important to put an emphasis on the initial part of the initial 53-man roster, because we know there's going to be some dominoes that fall and some rearranging, if you will, that takes place within that before we actually play a game. So it's very much just an initial 53.
Yeah. So Will Howard, Dante Kent. Now, look, it's possible that those guys spend the entire season on the injured reserve. They're basically using their injury as an excuse to stash those guys there if they need them. And if they don't need them, they'll stay there all season. So, I mean, I think it's very possible that we will not see those guys back, especially when you think about the depth the team has at quarterback. I mean, even if it's for a week or two, like let's say, Mason goes out there in practice and pulls a hamstring and he's going to miss a game, maybe miss another. Like, I don't even know at that point that they would bring Howard off because you can't undo it. It's a lot easier to just, roll a guy short for a couple weeks, as they did sort of last year at times when it was Justin Fields was injured when he was the backup. They only had two quarterbacks for a few weeks. Or like at corner, if this is a short-term injury, they're just going to call up Pierre or Beanie Bishop from the practice squad or return Corey Trice from the IR return where he went. Like Dante Kent's, this is basically a redshirt year for both of those guys, I think. Like that's what this feels like to me. Yeah,
absolutely. Although I mentioned, what else could have happened with that other practice, or what could be happening with a practice squad spot. You put out your morning rush this morning about the fit of Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and what would have made him a good fit for this team, why the Steelers interested in him. Shortly after, signs with the San Francisco 49ers. We knew it was between those two teams. But if you want to believe, obviously, the way that it was put out there, I think it was Caboli that put this out there as well. It was the practice squad that the Steelers are trying to add him to, not the active roster. I know that there was a similar situation with Noah Brown last year where they were trying to sign him to the practice squad and obviously had a 53 man opportunity available to him, so took that. Do you feel like that was a misstep by the Steelers in trying to get him on the practice squad as opposed to 53? Like, do you think that would be the difference in why they didn't get him, or should this even be a player that we're upset about missing out on?
I don't know if the practice squad 53 thing makes a difference. You're signing the guy. A lot of times teams will do this when they sign a veteran, since they've instituted the practice squad elevation, is they bring him in, put him on the practice squad, which gives the guy a couple weeks to kind of get up to speed before they have to cut someone else for them. You know what I'm saying? Like it basically becomes an extended tryout then, where you bring him in, you get a look at him in your system, your scheme, you give him a couple weeks so that you're not shoving him into the lineup. Like, it's not doing him a service to sign him today at 4:00 and then have him go practice 3 times next week and play against the New York Jets. Like, he's not going to look very good. So you put him on the practice squad, then you can see, is he ready? Is he not ready? And you can kind of bring him along at his own pace in terms of how he's taking to the team and the development and that kind of thing. So I don't think that really matters.
Okay. We had a similar conversation regarding, like I said, Noah Brown last year, where signed with the Commanders, and it came out the Steelers had only offered him a practice squad spot. So was wondering if that was the difference and why he chose one over the other.
No, I think he's done the practice squad in San Francisco too.
Yeah.
So like it didn't. This wasn't. They were offering the same.
But I guess what I'm saying is, with the Steelers not offering him practice squad, offering him a 53 right out the gate, have been the difference? Do you think? I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. It's tough to say.
I guess my question was, what you were answering was, is there a difference in right now being added to one or the other?
Yeah, there is definitely a benefit to adding him to the practice squad first and then promoting them. Still did that with James Pierre last year. When they first re-signed him, they brought him on the practice squad. He played a couple weeks in the practice squad, and then they elevated him to the 53. I'm fine with offering him a practice squad spot. Like, here's the thing. MVS is a really good fit, but not that good of a player. Like, he's the kind of wide receiver the Steelers need to be targeting. But like, how much better is he than their other options right now? I mean, not overwhelmingly. I think I'd rather have him than Kendrick Bourne. I wouldn't rather have him than Jacoby Myers, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
What about between him and Gabe Davis? Like, assuming health.
I don't think Gabe Davis is healthy still. Is the vibe I'm getting there? If healthy, I would prefer Gabe Davis.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the thing, is like, I keep seeing people like turn up their nose, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't super interested in like an MVS, but like you're saying, I fully agree with like better fit over player, but I keep seeing people say like, this isn't the type of player that they need. Like, they don't need another wide receiver 4 or whatever like that. It's like, first off, we got to stop thinking like a wide receiver 2 with the way that you're categorizing that is out there and attainable, or seemingly attainable. Again, like if Jacoby Myers or whatever you think is somewhat on the table, then sure. And the other is like, it's more so the type of receiver that is missing from this room to me than it is just like somebody that's better than everybody besides DK Metcalf. Like, sure that exists, but at this point, at this juncture, I think you're just looking for like the archetype of receiver that's not in that room right now. So that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. I have been looking at it for a couple weeks now. Are they going to find somebody that I think is a better option for them? I don't know if they're going to find somebody for them just like pound for pound better pass catcher than Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson, but they still need somebody that is
pound for pound. Guy. Calvin Austin clears.
Yeah,
this weighs about 145 pounds.
That's true. Yeah.
Actually, Calvin is. I was looking at a picture of him the other day. He's put on some muscle. He looks a little bigger than he used to be. I don't know where.
Was it from the concert that they were all at?
No, it was from practice. It's from practice. Okay. He was like getting hit or something, and you know, kind of shirt pulled to the side, and I was like, "All right, Cal, you put some work in." I think, yeah. I mean, they're not going to get what they really need. That's an interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they had to pay him what their going rate is, but the Steelers could get any receiver to fit into this room that they wanted. Who would the fit be?
Any wide receiver in the NFL?
Yeah. Like, they could have whoever they wanted. They have to pay him, though.
Okay. I mean,
who's the perfect fit? Like, what is that's the question. Like, what is the perfect fit for them at wide receiver?
Well, I mean, I guess you could go one of two directions. Do you want the route technician that's not currently in the room that can play on the outside? Or I've been looking at it because of what I've seen at Arthur Smith's offense at its best, with Corey Davis being the opposite guy from A.J. Brown, is another bigger bodied guy that can play on the outside, run everything on the vertical plane, block. That's kind of the way that I've been looking at it. However, like in an ideal world, that's not necessarily the type. If you're giving me every wide receiver in the NFL on the table, that's a tough one to. I mean, I'd probably just say A.J. Brown, because we've seen that in Arthur Smith's offense do it, and he can do everything.
He can. I mean, certainly that's really good. He's really good. But he also makes a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
Do you really want to spend, what's he got, 33 a year? Like, do you really want to spend that much money on wide receiver? Like, I don't
So
think
yeah, so you're probably looking at somebody that's within like the 20-ish ballpark.
Yeah, like 20 to 25 range, right? Like, to me, that's realistic.
20 to 25 wide receiver contracts. I want to know what the comments say. The comments probably typed an immediate answer to this. Ooh.
I got my answer.
Okay. I feel pretty good about this. I think I'm going to go Nico Collins.
That's a very good answer range. Also.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer also. I don't think that's wrong. Some other names I saw here that are interesting to me. Calvin Ridley, I think, is interesting in that range.
It's crazy, but Calvin Ridley's not 30 years old yet. I feel like it's just been, he had the years in Atlanta, obviously, the suspension, Jacksonville, now Tennessee. It just seems like he's been around forever. He's 29.
Yeah, I think Devontae Smith is the one for me. That's the like archetype wide receiver too.
And from a personality standpoint, you've already seen like he's okay with having the alpha guy on the other side and being unselfish about
really good deep ball guy, speed, like big enough. You know what I mean? Like big enough to play outside, but his calling card is the speed, the ability to create space and separation. I think that's to me, that's like the guy I would really want. And so that's why when I'm looking at the players around, it's like there are a lot of wide receivers available. I just kind of roll my eyes at like, oh, the Steelers should get, low so-and-so slow slot receiver. I'm like, what the heck do they want one of those for? Like, it's a real specific need that they have. And that's why I don't think Omar Khan is desperate is like the wrong word here. Like, they know they need a wide receiver, but the kind of receiver that can really help them is not plentiful. I do think they would probably be better served to be a little bit more aggressive with some of this stuff, but there are not a ton of those guys out there, and I don't think it helps them to like grasp at the wrong stuff and overpay for people that aren't going to be that big of a help.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like I think that the desire to add somebody has clearly been there. The desire to part with the draft capital to do so on the market has not. Yes. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. Going back to our conversation yesterday, if the price is right for them, they would have done something already to address this wide receiver room. But like at the point right now where we are, understanding the way that they want to hold on to their draft picks, fully understanding it, they need to. And just like the entire landscape, that's why I'm okay with saying that there's not going to be just a fix-all here with one addition to the wide receiver room. It's going to just be somebody, I think, that brings something different to the table that's not currently there, and I'm okay with that. But it goes back again. Like I have seen stuff put out there today about maybe they're just not. I don't think you can add nobody. Like that's my thing. Is I will be very disappointed if there's not an addition at all. If they don't go and get that guy that can play on the outside, play the Z, but hopefully in an ideal world, also be able to provide some help at X in the situation where hopefully we don't have it happen. But if DK Metcalf goes down, what in the world happens? Like there's just there's a lot of questions that I have about this receiver room that don't have answers that I think one addition would at least make me feel a little bit better about. Even if it's, again, not somebody that can do everything. They should be able to do one or two things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think, though, that there are people that would just be like very happy if they just signed anybody, and I'm not sure that's accurate.
Yeah.
Like if they had
how much would
Adam
have
Thielen today, I think there would have been some people like, "Oh my God, the Steelers got their wide receiver. Great, this is awesome. This is the best thing ever." And I would say they would not be 1% better with Adam Thielen. Like he does not provide anything that they can't already do with Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin. Like that doesn't solve the problem.
if they would have signed Amari Cooper, how much is that changing about their
not making
2025
them better?
outlook?
Those moves are not making them better. It's got to be someone that very specifically does the things that the three guys either can't do in the case of Austin, and I can't's a bad word. Haven't done is probably a better word. Well, that's the other thing too. It has to be a clear enough upgrade that, like, because if the guy's only a little bit better, like let's go way down from where we were talking about. Let's talk about Noah Brown. You just brought up.
Yeah.
If you're bringing in Noah Brown, Tim Patrick, who was traded today, that's probably a better example. If you're bringing in Tim Patrick, I would just rather play Roman and Calvin and bet on whatever chance there is that they figure out how to do something they've never done before than roll out 32-year-old Tim Patrick. Like, I don't think there's any upside in that move. Like, I think so. It has to be a clear enough upgrade that you're not just better off rolling the dice on your own young guys.
I'd say that he kind of falls into the bucket for me where, like, I still would have liked to have made that move, but given Roman the first shot at playing Z, it's just you have an insurance blanket at him on the roster if it doesn't work out. And also, like I said, you got another bigger body guy in the event that hopefully we're not talking about at any point where DK Metcalf misses any time. So it's still to me like an ad that they need to make in some form or fashion. What was that? A 6th round pick that they traded for?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I don't think Omar's over there clutching a 6th round pick. He just said pass on that one.
Which I mean, Roman could go out there and play the Z. And again, like in Arthur Smith's offense, I know that it's, not necessarily a traditional Z type receiver that you need to have there. Like he's going to get creative with it. And I've liked what they've done in the preseason with him in terms of getting him moving in these, crossers, which Roman is very good at his time at Michigan. Like it seems like they understand his skill set. So maybe he can survive out there. It's just the insurance right now isn't on the roster if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think about the idea of the Jets are trading Allen Lazard, but not after week 1? Not until after week 1.
Yeah. Allen Lazard is interesting just because, like, recently the amount of time that he's played in the slot, like a lot of people might look at the snap share and say, does he even solve their problem? But like, he can do it. He obviously played on the outside quite a bit in Green Bay. I think he's better as a big slot, but he can play outside. Again, don't know that that's one that I'm necessarily like pounding the table for. I'm also not like turning my nose up at it. I don't know why it's necessarily like a bad thing that people have made it like for Aaron Rodgers to have familiarity with a guy. Like it's like people want to be upset about it.
It's because the Jets fell apart based on Aaron having too much say in everything they were doing, and people are afraid that that'll happen in Pittsburgh if the Steelers just bring in someone who knows him. But like one of those things does not mean the other. Like every team wants players that are familiar with and they know are good fits with. Like, I guess
I don't think Nathaniel Hackett's gonna come here and be the OC regardless of
well, and like sure, do you run like some percentage chance that like the Aaron Rodgers mafia just takes over your locker room and somehow that leads to a negative outcome? Absolutely. But you can trade for Tim Patrick and then discover that Tim Patrick and Aaron Rodgers hate each other and they get into a fist fight on the first day too. Like you're not gonna have any idea. Like, just that's the that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I don't know. So that would be it's also interesting to me, like the Jets cut Malachi Corley, who has not been productive for him. Allen Lazard seemingly out there for a trade to be made, but there's all this talk about like the Jets wanting to also add at receivers. So like I'm curious what that deal even looks like. And it also, would definitely be interesting if they were like, hey, we'll make this deal, but it was kind of like Mike Williams, I guess, last year, where we were trying
After
to
we played,
trade for him.
yeah,
Eventually
same
did
deal.
trade for him, but it was after we
Yeah.
played them. Yeah, I mean, I'd take it. I don't know, again, how much
I
of a
also think
solution it would be.
that's not the only one. There are a couple other situations where I can see, like right now, the 49ers are adding all these receivers because they have a bunch of injuries, but then they're going to get healthy, and then they're going to be looking at MVS and like, what are we doing with you exactly? Or whoever,
And
the bottom of their same thing with the Packers. We talked about them all off season and then how they got banged up. I can totally see by week 6, Christian Watson's back, Reed's back, Savion Williams is back. Now all of a sudden Romeo Doubs is getting 3 touches a game and he's getting angry about it. Like that, I can see that.
Year.
Yeah, in a contract year, right? Yeah, I can see that coming back. I feel like there's another team in that boat as well, but maybe that I'm not thinking of right now. But I do think there are a couple teams with injuries to start the year at the wide receiver position that could get help. Oh, the Vikings, right? They go out and get Thielen. They have Jordan Addison suspended. And then, maybe you start to look at their depth come week 6 and say, man, we got some guys that we really don't know what we're doing with over here.
Yeah, Naylor for them was somebody that they were pretty high on. Was supposed to be their wide receiver 3 coming into the year. I think he's hurt right now, and then obviously with Addison suspension,
Naylor is hurt.
It really complicated things for them. So I don't know. Yeah, they might be one to look at. Another team. I mean, we talked about Kendrick Bourne quite a bit. The reason he was released by New England, so was Javon Baker released by New England. I think that we talked about. Oh, they did carry 8 receivers.
That's a sneaky move by New England, man. You put the guys on the 53, and then you trying to sneak them through waivers the next day with Javon Baker. That's very interesting.
And I guess they weren't going for it. Kendrick Bourne was like, nope, I want to be released.
Kendrick Bourne has to be released. I think Baker, they're trying, and Bourne will be a free agent. He's a veteran. But I think Baker, they're trying to sneak through. I get the impression anyway. We'll see.
But yeah, those would be interesting. And you mentioned the San Fran thing. The reason that my mind went to Bourne for that is it was put out that they have a ton of interest in a reunion there. And man, like you're talking about, okay, well, if they added him and MVS, when Ayuk does get back into the fold, Ricky Pearsall's already there. Jacob Count is a 5th-round pick who they had pretty high hopes for this year. Jennings still doesn't have a contract, and he's banged up right now. Yeah, that room could certainly be interesting a few weeks into the season, depending on how quickly Ayuk can get back.
Yeah.
Well, if they do add
Ayuk is still on the pup, right? So he's got at least 6 weeks.
Is it? Oh, I thought they changed the amount of time that pup was.
Oh, is pup now 4?
I don't know anything. I don't know anything in terms of how the
4. Okay, yeah, they did change.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, all right. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it probably will be. When did he tear? At what point in the year did he tear his knee up?
November, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, wasn't having a very good year and then tore his knee up. So, but we're not talking about him in this situation.
Tampa is another one because they're going to get now. I don't know that they have released a timeline with McMillan. Is he? Did they say anything about him with that neck injury?
I think it was put out kind of like it was hopeful that he would return by week 9.
IR return, but then Chris Godwin is coming back too, so like they could be getting deep too now. But on week 9, you're at the deadline there, so that's going to be tricky. But I definitely think there's a possibility this goes into the season, and then you get to the deadline. There's going to be teams. We talked yesterday about the Colts, and there will be other teams where things don't go the way they start, and the way they want to start, and are feeling awfully different about themselves in a few weeks' time.
The Colts with Pierce, the Saints and we know the Saints from the get-go are not going to be good. But
I don't think the Colts are going to be good either.
I don't know if they're good. Yeah, I mean, I don't either. But I guess it's a different scenario in that the coach and GM are probably going to try to have to save their jobs there, as opposed to the Saints, where it's like first-year head coach.
I don't think any amount of trying is going to help the Colts. That's where I'm at, though.
Yeah, I don't know who else falls into that bucket. I mean, the Dolphins. Things should go south for the Dolphins this year.
The Dolphins had the worst offseason of any NFL team. They could absolutely go very south very quickly. I would say the Raiders, if they don't trade Myers before the season, will be willing to reevaluate that midway through. I don't know that the Jags or the Falcons necessarily have a player that like fits that bill, but I don't think those teams are going anywhere. The problem with those teams is they're in such bad divisions that even if they stink, it's going to be hard for them to get out of it that early.
Right. Yeah. Like other than the Saints, I think the South, I don't see any of those teams. Like, I mean, Tampa Bay's, I think, going to win that division, but like they're going to have to run away with it in a way. I just don't see that early for those teams to feel like they got to sell at the deadline.
Yeah, usually Tampa Bay wins that division by being one game above 500.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see play out. And I was looking at Tennessee's wide receiver room as well. Nothing that I think that they would part with interests me. So I know you mentioned Calvin Ridley is like an ideal option to add to the room, but if that's not going to happen, obviously, they spent a 4th round, or was it 5th round pick? They even take the 4th. I won the Steelers to spend a 4th round pick on a wide receiver out of Stanford, whose name I will not mention again on this podcast. But other than that, there's like nothing in that, unless you want a Van Jefferson reunion.
No, I don't think we want that.
Hit 22 miles per hour though in that preseason game on like a 5-yard out.
The longest completion of the preseason.
Yeah, unreal.
I also love when people are like, "Where was that when he played with the Steelers?" I'm like, the corner fell down. What?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The top end speed took me by surprise.
It's Arthur Smith's fault that he didn't scheme more plays where the opposing corner fell down. Blame Arthur Smith.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Good episode. I will say this is probably a bad time to mention this because we didn't answer a single question on here. Although I'm sure that we answered some that people had in their minds that we didn't read. But got a really nice comments from our friend Brooklyn on Instagram today about why we are her favorite podcast here on the Steelers Afternoon Drive. It's because we incorporate the audience so much and make them feel like they are a part of the show. Not only are they a part of the show, they're the biggest part of the show. Could you imagine doing this podcast just like, I mean, we do sometimes, just me and you talking without including the audience at all? It just
it would be
boring. Couldn't happen in the morning rush. Couldn't happen without it. But certainly Steelers Afternoon Drive.
No. The morning rush is almost completely reliant on you guys. And this show, I mean, we could do it, but it would be pretty boring without you guys. And honestly, like, it's the interaction that makes it fun. Like, it's reading the comments and seeing what you guys think and the back and forth that makes me enjoy doing this as much as I do. I think I told the story on here, but like I'll all the time I'll be looking at like national podcasts and things like that, and I will be judging them hard when I see like an episode with like 8 comments, and I'm like, man, we had 8 comments like 15 minutes after it goes up most days. Like, like our people are in there, man, and they know it because they're a big part of the show.
We appreciate them. Assume that there's going to be a lot of people dropping some names within that $20 to $25 million wide receiver range of who they would like to add within that bucket. So I look forward to reading those, obviously. Yeah. So tomorrow will actually mark 8 years since we started recording my other podcast, Around the 412, Alan. And in that time, I've learned just how important the audience is. Like, to just show up and talk into a microphone, it can't happen. The audience makes the show, so we appreciate the audience of this show very much. You know what? I know that we normally do this after I tell Ellen where the people to find you, but this is a good way to work it in. All 16,500 and Chris Kimoyatu.
Oh, that's where I was gonna go.
Had to have been used before. If
Elsie Greenwood is the obvious answer here. We'll go with Kelvin Beachum. Is that right? 68?
It was. Yeah.
There you go.
And still rocking 68. Man, shout out to Beach for still going strong. Yeah. And obviously it's not just the people on YouTube. There's obviously the people on the audio platforms. But Alan, you know what? Tell the people where to find you.
A_Saunders on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now is the site's account. SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the word so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. We'll have all kinds of exclusive SN Plus content over there, plus our subs only live streams, which you just missed, but can be archived there for the month of August. We'll do another one in September. And you get ad-free reading over at SteelersNow.com, which is great.
A regular season subs only live stream. Imagine the juice that's going to be brought for that. Definitely don't
And
miss
we're
out
gonna
on
have
it.
some. Remember, there's that one guy who's like really mad that we did some subs only stuff. Like he was just like
Mhm.
super upset in the comments.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do something new here on the YouTube channel to get some live stream stuff for you non-subscribers as well. Won't be as good as our subs only live stream with me, Smitty, and DB. Nothing could be that good, but it hopefully it'll whet the appetite there for those, really, for just that one guy who was angry that we were doing it that way.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's some nuggets that are dropped on the subs only live streams that you couldn't get anywhere else, because it's stuff that Alan talks about from the scoops that he gets on the road, stuff that we're hearing, and then we'll talk about it on there. Only the subscribers can get that content. But in terms of YouTube, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell again, keep adding to that growing number. We appreciate all of you. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH. For Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.